My name is Leslie. I'm from Anakbayan, Toronto, a Filipino youth and student organization. And we are here to show our solidarity with the people of El Salvador, whose country is being sued for not issuing a mining permit to Oceana Gold. For those of you maybe just joining us, in 2008, the El Salvador government stopped issuing any new mining permits on the basis that this is a very small and densely populated country, and it's not feasible to have a lot of mining activity without having detrimental effects on the environment and on the people, the communities that live there. And what happens during a mining operation? To name a few things, it destroys the landscape, it causes soil erosion, it uses a lot of water, contaminates the water through chemicals that seep into the water table. You have acid rain, dust and noise pollution, and so on and so forth. And all of this affects the health of the communities that are living in that area. Aside from environmental issues, mining operations often involve a lot of human rights violations as well. So that's what is being witnessed all around the world due to Canadian mining operations. Those communities who stay are subject to unhealthy living conditions, and those who resist and try to fight for their land are being suppressed by paramilitary forces. The instances of mining and land disputes in El Salvador, in Canada, in Guatemala, in the Philippines, and elsewhere are not isolated events. There's a pattern of imperialist powers aggressively taking resources from around the world, destroying communities, and violating human rights for the sake of profit. And this has been made possible by the pressure from imperialist countries for developing nations to sign on to unequal bilateral or multilateral trade agreements. These trade agreements normalize the idea that corporate interests should be considered equally as public good. They undermine a country's right to sovereignty, the country's right to make decisions in the best interest of its people. Oceana Gold's motive is to extract resources and make profit. Whereas the people who are being vilified, those people who are trying to resist, have a motive of being able to live in their homes and live in their communities. They want to be able to access clean water and live in a healthy environment and have a place for their future generations to live and grow up. The fact that we have international investment tribunals that favor a company's right to profit over the people's right to exist is fundamentally flawed, and we should not allow this to happen. Speaking from the perspective of the youth, our generation inherits the earth that this current generation is leaving behind for us. And if this is left unchallenged, corporations will continue to exhaust resources on a large scale without regard to human rights and without regard to the environment. So our calls to Oceana Gold is to withdraw their case against the El Salvador government, withdraw your operations from the Philippines. To the Philippine government, we say scrap the Mining Act of 1995 that allows foreign mining companies to extract freely without paying taxes to the Philippines for a given amount of time. We also ask for genuine land reform, for lands to be distributed to the people, and for production to be geared towards the needs of the people who live there. We need national industrialization so that the Philippines can benefit from its own resources, allowing economic growth that is less dependent on imperial powers. And finally, we want them to end unequal multinational trade agreements that undermine the country's right to self-determination. And finally, to the Canadian government, we say, ensure the regulation of Canadian mining companies overseas. Ensure that Canadian companies are respecting the United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples, and stop pushing for unequal free trade agreements. Thank you.